Hey everybody, thank you for joining me. Last video we did some of these mixed media papers with some feathers, and what I ended up with was nice prints of colorful pages. And so I worked on this piece a little bit, just defining the shape of the feather, because it's pretty much, a nice background and then this pretty blotch of color in kind of a shape of a feather, but not really defined. So what I have done off camera, I'll explain quickly. As you can see, I have added some the veining here, the quill of the feather, because it was not very defined in the print. And what I used for that is this white Gelly Roll pen, and then a black pen, which this one's the Pigma Graphic One Archival ink in black. And this tip, I like this pen. It's got a little bullet tip, so it's like a marker more than it is a pen. And I don't see a size on this. Oh, okay, it's size 1, it says on the tip. So I'm just using a real feather as a reference. As you can see, the quill is skinny at the top, and then as you get farther towards the bottom, it tapers, skinnier, and then it's like wider towards the bottom. So I tried to mimic that by drawing in the quill in black first, just a skinnier line up here at the top, and then getting wider towards the bottom, and then adding highlights with this white Gelly Roll pen. This is a number 8. This is a really nice pen. It works really well over top of these acrylic prints. And I've also outlined the shape of the feather to give it more definition with the white, and then filled in a little bit of these downy parts of the feather, these little fluffy parts here. Just kind of quickly just sketching in with the white pen, just kind of, doing a little sketchy marks here. And if the pen is if you find it too harsh, which I did at first, there's a lot of ink in these, and they come out, really brightly white when I put it over top of this dark, you can take your finger and kind of knock that back a little bit, because this pen stays wet for a few seconds. I mean, it stays wet for a while, so you have time to kind of, correct mistakes if you want. And the same with this pen. Stays wet for a little while, so if you feel like it's too dark, you can knock that back just with your finger, just lightly rubbing it. So on camera, the background looks pretty good. The feather stands out pretty nicely on camera, but in person it actually does not. So the background's a little too dark, I think. So I don't think the feather stands out as much as I would like it to. So I have already started to knock some of that color back with some white, just like a light layer of white around the feather. So that's where I'm at now. And I've just got some of this Liquitex Basics titanium white, and I have that on my piece of plexiglass here, and I am using a makeup sponge to just kind of really dryly. This is not like soaked, it's a dry sponge with a little bit of the white, and just tapping that in to the background to knock back some of the darkness of this background to let the feather stand out more. So I'm going to put several layers of this, because these are very thin layers, so that you can still see all of that texture from this background coming through. And it's going to take me a little while to do this, because I think what I want to do is gradually this will be lighter towards the top, and then it will gradually you know, fade as it goes towards the bottom. So I'm just going to just continue in this manner, just kind of, you know, a very thin, dryish layer of this white around the feather. And I'm not going up super precisely up against the feather, like I'm leaving some of that darkness around the white. If you can see, I've got my white Jelly Roll outline here, and then there's like that dark background behind it. I'm leaving a little space in between there. That kind of makes it look like a shadow, makes the feather pop out from the page. So I'm not going to have you watch me go through this because this is going to take a while. But this is what I'm doing, and I'll probably add extra layers towards the top so that it's more white, like I said. And I'm not going to be like too precise around all of these little tufty areas here, the downy parts. I'm not going to get like super precise. I'm going to get close, but I want to leave like some of this background. Like I think I'll leave this brown around here because I do like that effect. I think it gives it some interest. I will go around this dark piece here, knock that back a bit. And once I get done with that, I'll come back and I'll show you what I'll do next with, I think it needs something down here. So I've got an idea for that. So I will be back once I get everything layered here in the white. Okay, so I've got you zoomed in a little bit more so you can see a little closer what's going on, and I've done my sponging of the white, and now what I've done also is I have like this bristle brush. Well, it's a really stiff brush that is for oil painting, I believe. It's really old. I'm not sure where I got it actually, and I think it's been cut down to like a little stub, and I've just been using this to go around carefully, just go around the edge, just get a little closer to the edge of the feather, and just scrub the color in, and then that kind of helps get some more of the edge defined, because a lot of these little downy feathers that I have here, they were kind of just looking like a blob after I like defined the top part. So I wanted to make sure that these get a little more defined and don't look all like smudgy and just like nothing. So this paper can take a scrubbing for sure. This is the Canson Mixed Media paper, and I'm scrubbing pretty hard, like using just a very little bit of white paint here and just going around the edge, coming up close to the edge of some of these little wisps here, and then just scrubbing the outside to kind of fade the color out. And you can probably hear me scrubbing it pretty hard. And I'm about done with this part, I think. I just want to go in just a little bit more, because this area just kind of looks like it's been like a smudged charcoal. So I'm just trying to kind of get rid of that as much as I can. And I didn't put any white down here on the bottom. And I've concentrated more of the white around the feather and left a lot of this color on the sides. And as you can see, the top of this is not perfection, you know, and I like that imperfection. I like the obvious painterly look of it. I like the texture. That's just my aesthetic. I like it. I think it makes it look old. And I do like the look of that. One of my favorite artists on YouTube right now, I'm actually a Patreon of hers, that I can watch her jelly printing for hours and hours, just over and over her videos. Her name is Robin McClendon, Robin with a Y, McClendon, and her techniques for jelly printing is just my favorite. And if you haven't seen her, heard of her, I think you should check her out, because she is just awesome with the jelly print. And I think I've just gotten a lot of inspiration from her as far as the aesthetic, because I like her color schemes and just the abstract way that she does things. She's an abstract artist, and I'm more, I don't know, I'm more of an in-between. I like to add abstract, painterly, artistic, obvious that it's a painting, but also some realism incorporated into it, or at least close to something real than just, a shape. Kind of like this. So this is obviously not realism, but yet there's some detail here. So it's a combination of techniques. So I've learned a lot from her, and I just take what she has shown and just do it in my own style, because she uses feathers a lot too. She uses real feathers in her journals. So I think that's looking pretty good. I've got it defined down here at the bottom a little bit better. Just kind of adding a little bit more white here to kind of get rid of some of that smokiness. I kind of like to leave some of the smokiness because it kind of adds to the feel of it being softer down here, because it's downy, very soft and fluffy and downy here, and I think my goal was to kind of give that feeling in this by just kind of a little bit of a smudge, smoky kind of look to kind of give the feeling of softness. But you gotta get it more defined here, because I don't want it looking like super dirty. You can hear me just scrubbing. This is just pure white Liquitex Basics, just getting up closer, scrubbing it out to kind of blend it out into the background. And I'm not being like super careful with these little sections here, because it's still kind of like, it's such a thin layer of paint that it's not going to completely cover what's underneath. Alright, so let me just rinse this off. So now, also the bottom of this, you can tell where I've, added that originally, that acrylic ink here, and didn't go to the edge, and that's okay with me. I mean, I could, if I really want to, I could make this an 8.5 by 11 and cut the imperfections out. I might do that. Depends on how this comes out, how I like it, if I want to use it for kind of a fine art piece, like a finished piece. So the bottom of this, I want to just add, this is like a bingo. These are like those little bingo pieces, cardboard, that were just punched out. And I've used this quite a bit in my jelly prints, and I think I want circles down here at the bottom. I think I'm going to make them black, just to put some interest down here. So the bottom is a little bit darker. I mean, this is more light with all the white that I put in here. I have no white down here, but it's still, there's a lot going on. And I'm kind of thinking that I can do some circles across here. And I'm going to use black. So I've got some black acrylic paint here. If I can get it open, there it goes. And my little homemade jelly print, which now has jelly plate, which has a piece of my hair there. And I'll just put a little bit. So I'm just going to do a transparent, well, I'll try to do a kind of transparent layer by just using a thin, small amount on my brayer here. So I'm just going to roll this out so that I can get my brayer covered with the black paint, and it's not going to be a solid thing. So I can see that there's not, I might need to add a little bit more. This is pretty dry. This homemade jelly plate is a lot more moist than like what you can buy, and then it gets dried out. This looks awfully dry on the brayer, but I'm going to bray these circles on, and just going to line it up, and I'm going to just see how this works. This may not. Let's do this. I don't know if that's going to work or not, so it doesn't look like it's transferring very well. No. I do need to Not sure if I can just, no, it's too dry. It's way too dry. So let's just do, I guess we can just do let's do this. So I'll do what I did with the paint here, and I will just use the makeup sponge. So I'm just learning as I go. So some things work, some things don't, and you just don't know until you actually do it. So just keep that in mind. I mean, if you want to learn and you want to get better and you want to know what colors work together and how things work, how people get certain techniques, and you're gonna have to do it, test it out yourself. So this is just not perfect. This is just getting an impression here of some circles, and not even perfectly lined up, I don't think, but we'll see. So I'm just dipping this sponge into that black, and it's a dry, kind of a dryish sponge. Because I don't want this too solid, too perfect. I still like the look of this kind of old, dirty kind of look. Not perfect, just giving it an aged feel here. And I think I'll just continue with this. If I lift this up, yeah, I think that's neat. So I'll be back with this, and when I'm done, I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I'm done with the circle stencils, and I like it. However, I think that it's a little too dark and draws attention away from the main focal point. So I started to try to figure out what I wanted to do and just kind of knock these circles back, and I'm going to do the same technique that I did with the background here and just add a little bit of white, and just I'm going to just scuff these up to just knock them back, and like so that they're not so defined and so prominent. So I'm just taking my like little scrubby bristle brush here and adding that white in here so that it's like kind of a translucent layer, and it is just taking those circles and making them less defined and pushing them back a little bit so that the focus isn't on them as much. And I think, yeah, under here, let's see, just scrub them in. So you can see these circles, but yet they're not too standoutish, if that's a word, which I doubt. It's my new word. I'm not as talkative today, guys. Well, what was that? My phone is going off, guys. Yep, I'm just breaking these perfect circles up. And sometimes I use my finger to help things out a little bit. So just a very dry brush with a very little paint. Just gives it some more interest. Here's my finger. This paper is holding up very well. There is one little spot here that's tore. It's where I had a thicker piece of dried paint stuck on there, but that is fine with me. The grungier the better in this technique and in this picture. So it is supposed to look this way. It is purposely supposed to be organic. Okay, so those have been knocked back, and I think that helps that out, so that keeps the feather as the focal point. And it also helps with this down here, so it just masked where there wasn't, there was more blank area under here. Trying to think what else I can do with this. Like, I wanted to add more gold. I love this gold here, but it should probably just be on the feather. So I think I'm gonna leave it at that. If I do anything else to it, I guess I'll come back and just tack it on to the end of this video here. But I think for the most part, I'm done with this. So outside of signing it, I may cut it down to an 8.5 by 11 sheet, which I think be more like this, yeah, this size, which that may make it even nicer just to cut it down a little bit. My next video, so I have kind of a part 3 to this, because I had like 3 different pieces of paper that I liked that I created in the last video, so this was one of them that I've just finished. And then this was also one that I also want to use a feather on, and I love this gold here, I love this turquoise, I love this color combination. So this will be kind of a part 3 coming up, and I'll show you what I do with this. And this is a thinner piece of paper that I'll use for collage, and I can't wait for you guys to see what I come up with that one. So it's going to be similar, but different design, different colors. So thank you again for watching. I hope you liked this video. I hope you liked this. And if you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions on any of these techniques in this video, just send them to me and I'll try to get to you in. Sometimes it takes a few days. I don't get my notifications in time, and don't check my email that often, or my YouTube account. So just let me know if you have any questions, and if you haven't subscribed and you want to see more of what I come up with, please subscribe, and I will see you guys again. I thank you guys for watching so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye, guys.